So I think this is recording. All right, excellent. So Jeanette, thank you so much for joining us for this brown bag talk. I got connected to Jeanette through Allison Hall, who you see up on the monitor there. They're friends from college, and Allison knew that Jeanette has an interest and a lot of knowledge about Ayurveda, which is the topic she's going to be talking to us about today. So Allison helped coordinate Jeanette's presence today, so we're really excited to have you here. Jeanette, would it be helpful for you if we go around the table quickly and say who we are and what we do here at ICI?
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. Thanks.
Okay. So you know me, I'm Anya Weber, and I'm a writer and editor on the marketing team here at ICI. Jen, do you want to go next?
Sure, I'll go next. My name is Jen Bose, and I'm a researcher on a couple of different teams here at ICI.
And everybody please speak up just really loudly.
That means anything.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Ashley Wells, and I'm a research liaison for ICI.
And I'm Alberto Migliore, and I'm a research associate at ICI.
I'm John Shepard. I'm a research data coordinator at ICI.
Hi, I'm Bernice Reyes Albino. I am the events coordinator for ICI.
Finally, someone who's on the research department. I'm Dave Tinlaney. I'm not in the research department. Marketing. Hello.
I'm Nancy Hurley. I'm a training associate on the education and transition team.
I'm Allison Taylor, and I am a researcher.
And I'm Meredith Love. I'm early childhood.
Great. So Jeanette, I am going to give you control of the screen, make you the presenter so you can share some slides with us.
Okay.
So let me know when you are able to do that.
All right. Show my screen. Okay, great. So maybe I'll do I see the button here, but I thought maybe I'd do my introduction so you can all see me, as you were also kind enough to let me see you and you did your introductions, and then I'll switch over to the PowerPoint when I go into the talk. So sure. If that works for everyone. So first of all, thanks to all of you for coming today. I'm so excited and thrilled to be with you and to be sharing this knowledge with you. As you already know, Alice and I are dear friends. We've been friends for a long time. Actually met up in Boston University. So I was hoping maybe I could come up there for this, but my schedule didn't allow. But maybe if you're so thrilled and marveled by Ayurveda, we can find time for me to come again, because there's much more to share than we're going to touch on today in about 40 minutes. So my goal for all of you today is just to give you a broad introduction of Ayurveda, what it is, sort of the 101 view, if you will. And then in speaking with Anya, she was telling me about certain things that you're all, interested in. And obviously, as the fall and winter season is upon us, I know many of us are focused on how we can continue to, keep our summer glow and stay healthy. In addition, she mentioned a lot of you travel and how to stay healthy while on the road. So I'm going to touch on some tips specific to those issues from an Ayurvedic lens, to help with that transition, and then we'll take it from there. So just to give you some background on myself and how I got involved with Ayurveda and got introduced to it. So I, like all of you, I've spent pretty much the past 20 years working in an office environment. I worked in New York City, where I live now, and in London, and I've always worked in corporations, and had a very stressful. I still do it for a living. This is my side job at the moment. But very stressful, and trying to manage again all the travel, the stress. And a few years ago, it just became clear to me that what I was doing wasn't working, and I needed to look for different tools to help me manage, as I think we all do with our overwhelming workloads and schedules. So I started looking for things, and the first thing I did is I found a teacher, and I started a meditation practice, which I've been doing consistently for about 4 years. And then from there, I just started exploring different things, and Ayurveda just kept coming into my life in all these different kind of serendipitous ways. I went on a yoga retreat, and all the food was Ayurvedic, and I kind of geek out about new diets, so I was interested in about it and just started hearing about it. And then I signed up for a cooking class that I was advertised as a vegetarian cooking class, but then I took it and it was actually an Ayurvedic cooking class. So I got introduced to it there. And then in February of 2014, I went on a meditation retreat in India, actually, which is the home of Ayurveda, as we'll learn in a minute. And I signed up for this Ayurvedic cleanse. And a bunch of people on the trip with me did as well. And what was funny is they all gave up on it and hated it and quit. I mean, I guess because they were on vacation and didn't want to cleanse like me, and because they weren't having a good reaction. And I had a wonderful experience and a wonderful reaction, and it really worked so well for me. And that was really the turning point when I realized there's really something in this science for me, and then I wanted to know more about it. And then when I got home, again, I think the universe was trying to tell me something. There was literally an email in my box from Kripalu, which many of you in Massachusetts might be familiar with. It's the yoga retreat up in the center, up in the Berkshires. But they were running an introduction to Ayurveda class in New York City. So I just took it for fun, and then I loved it. And then they also offer a certification program, which is what I took this past year. And now I'm a certified Ayurvedic health counselor. So I'm, really my goal is to bridge the gap between the corporate world and, this Ayurvedic world, because I really think there's so much need in the corporate world for these tools. And I feel that I can hopefully speak to both. So that's why I'm here today, and that's just some background on me. So if there are no questions, we'll kick off my screen. Hold on. I just want to make sure you can all see it. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yeah, I can see it.
All right. I'm probably going to stop sharing my webcam, though, if that's okay, because it's going to distract me. Is that all right with you guys?
You can also put the slides in slideshow mode.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. All right, so I'm going to X this out. Okay, and I look forward to seeing you all in a bit. So, all right, hold on. Okay, great. I think we should be in slideshow now. So also, I'm going to walk through this. I did hopefully leave enough time at the end for Q&A, but if people do have questions as they're going throughout, please don't hesitate to interrupt them. Totally fine with that.
That's great. Jeanette, if there are visuals on the slides, can you please describe them as you go through also?
I'm sorry, what was that, Anya?
If there are visual pictures on the slides, can you just describe them as you go through as well?
Of course, I will, and there's not. So, but I'll be sure to speak to it.
Yes. All right.
I'm not a very good designer. Okay, great. So let's just kick off with the basic of what is Ayurveda. So Ayurveda it's a Sanskrit word. Sanskrit is the ancient language of India. And Ayurveda, what it translates to, it has a few translations. One being the science of life, one being the study of life, one being the wisdom of life. And Ayurveda is actually the oldest continually practiced healthcare system in the world. It's about 5,000 years old that we're aware of. And it really...
I'm so sorry. You're still, I just want to let you know you're still on camera.
Oh, I am?
Wow.
Wait, I am?
Yeah, we can still see a thumbnail of you.
How do I...
Okay, now
off
you
now?
Yeah.
Thank you. I practiced this walking around, so I wanted to do that. So where was I? So basically, the way to look at it is that I'm sure many of you are familiar with acupuncture. So what acupuncture is to China, Ayurveda is to India. And Ayurveda's focus is on prevention. So the goal of it is to protect and maintain the health of the healthy and combat disease in the sick. So Western medicine, as you're all probably aware, is really, if you get sick and you go to the doctor. And what Ayurveda tries to do is to get you to understand yourself and be in tune with yourself so you can get an inkling of, when something's a bit off and treat it then before you get sick. Okay, the next slide here describes the 4 aspects of life as it pertains to Ayurveda. And this is what I refer to as the lens in which Ayurveda sees the world. So the 4 aspects according to Ayurveda are the physical body, the mind, senses, and the soul. And again, if you look at this and compare it to Western medicine, as we all know, here when we go to the doctor, you see a different doctor for everything, right? You go to your shrink if you're having, issues with how you're feeling mentally. You go to a foot doctor if something's wrong with your foot. You go to a stomach doctor for your stomach. For your soul, you go to whatever religious or spiritual practice you may have. So here it's all seen as very separate. But the way Ayurveda views it is it's really a holistic view, and it's that everything is all connected. So they look at everything and not just your diet, but also your lifestyle and how all of those things come together to affect these four aspects. And in addition to how all the four aspects of life come together, it's also about how the elements of nature work with each of us as humans. So Ayurveda looks at the world being made up of 5 great elements. And these 5 elements are ether, which is the element of space, air, which is the element of movement, fire, which is the element of transformation, water, which is the element of protection, and earth, which is the element of structure. And so according to Ayurveda, these are the elements that make up the world around us. However, we as humans living in this world are a microcosm of a macrocosm. So we're all connected, and what the world is made up of, we are made up of. So we are each made up of these 5 elements as well. And the idea is that, we interact with the world around us, and we're affected by changes in the elements around us within our own internal body as well. Okay, so this next part is where we start to get into the real Ayurveda specific stuff. So these are going to be all new words. So if I throw anyone off here, please don't hesitate to stop me. So the way Ayurveda looks at how these 5 elements show up in us as humans is in this concept of doshas. And the way you spell doshas is D-O-S-A-S. And doshas is a concept that's unique to Ayurveda, and it's a way to describe it is how Ayurveda characterizes people. It's kind of your DNA, if you will. So the 3 doshas are as follows. So one is called Kapha, which is K-A-P-H-A, and that's made up of the elements of water and earth. One is called Pitta, which is P-I-T-T-A, and that's made up of fire and water. And then the third is called Vata, which is V-A-T-A, which is made up of ether and air. Now, the way it works is all 3 of these doshas and all 5 of the elements, they're present in all of us. So it's a part of everybody. However, what makes each of us unique is that the makeup of the doshas in each of us is different. So in general, and again, these are all generalities because everyone is unique, but 2 doshas tend to be more prominent in us than a third. And I'm going to go into each of them now to give you some background. And I think as I describe the characteristics of them, I think you'll probably all will come out identifying with 1 or 2 stronger than you would a third. And again, generally, you tend to identify with 1 more physically and 1 more mentally. But again, these are all sweeping generalities. So I'm going to go into that now and go into the doshas in more detail, and I think that will help give you all a better understanding. But before I do, I just want to make sure I haven't lost anyone with these foreign Sanskrit terms. Everyone following?
I think we're good.
I have a quick question. This is Jen. The doshas, I'm thinking those are sort of like basic qualities or aspects.
That word quality, you hit it right on the head. So I'm going to go into more of that now. But yes, each of the doshas is a way we describe each of the doshas in this concept of qualities, which I'm going to get into now. So yes, it's a very good way of thinking about it. Any other questions? All right, excellent. So as I said, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give, again, a very high-level overview of each of the three doshas. And I'm going to describe all of them to you in these following categories. So the elements they're made up of, the qualities, as was just pointed out, what they govern in our bodies, the main site of the dosha in the body, the season that corresponds with the dosha, the time of day, and the time of life. And this is the lens through which we're going to describe them all. So the one we're going to start out with now is Kapha. And as I said earlier, Kapha is made up of the elements of earth, which is the element of structure, and water, which is the element of cohesion. And the qualities of Kapha, right? So Ayurveda really boils everything down to what the qualities are, and that really helps you, that will help make a lot of these concepts be more tangible. We're going to be going back to this a lot. So the qualities of Kapha, it's cold, it's oily, heavy, smooth, soft, slow, stable, solid, and sticky. And again, if you think of the elements of earth and water, you'll see a lot of parallels there. As for what Kapha governs then in the body, again, if you go back to these qualities, structure, cohesion, lubrication, and the main site of Kapha is in the stomach. So some things Kapha does, it's present, in sort of the marrow between your bones. It's the lining of your stomach that helps digest your food, saliva, all those types of, lubrication and, the real structure you need to keep your body going. And then the Kapha season is spring. And then each dosha also has a corresponding time of day. So Kapha time of day is 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., and then the time of life is birth to puberty. So what these last three mean, so this sort of goes back to how, we as humans are then connected to the elements out in nature. So as I said, we have the doshas that live, that are part of our structure. But then when a dosha is stronger on the outside world, that can affect us as well. So a lot of people, their kapha can raise in the spring because there's more of it in the environment. And same if you're more aware of it at these times of day and the time of life. So if you think about birth to puberty, that's when kids are growing up, and think about how snotty and sticky and all of those things they are at that time. And those are all elements of kapha. So now we're going to look at what a kapha person is like when their kapha is imbalanced. And we're going to break each of these down into physical and mental attributes. So again, these are all sweeping generalities. So a kapha person, kapha people tend to have a larger frame. They're strong, curvy. Kapha types are ones that they're easy to gain weight, harder to lose weight. They tend to have smooth, soft skin and a slower metabolism. Mentally, kaphas, they're steadfast, they're hardworking. They love routine. Like, these are the same people, if you want to find them, a Saturday at 5, what booth they'll be sitting in the diner. They also tend to be very kind and compassionate, very motherly, nurturing types kaphas are. So that's a kapha imbalance, but when you have a kapha imbalance, what does that look like? And when the doshas get out of balance, the way I look at it is that it takes all the good thing about the dosha and just takes it to the extreme, which then, cannot be so good. So, like I said, kaphas can be the types that are, make it more difficult to lose weight, etc. So when kapha's out of balance, you can gain a lot of weight, have that heavy feeling in your stomach, your digestion slows down, and again, get very cold and congested, going back to the stickiness that we keep talking about. And then mentally, when kapha's out of balance, that's when, you can get overly attached. Feelings of greed can come on in addition to depression. So that's a general overview of kapha. Before I go into pitta, the next dosha, does anyone have any questions about that? It's all making sense? All right, I'm going to take no news as good news and move on to pitta. So pitta is made up of the elements of fire and water. And the qualities that make up pitta, the first one is that it's hot, which is probably no surprise that it's made of fire. And pitta is actually the only dosha that is hot. It is also oily, it's sharp, and it's spreading. Pitta, in this case, governs digestion and transformation. Ayurveda feels very strongly that the strength of your digestion is actually what maintains your health. So Pitta is what breaks down your food and keeps your digestive tract moving, which is meaning its main location is the small intestine. The Pitta season is probably no surprise. It's summer. And the Pitta time of day is 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. And the time of life is the middle years, which is quite a broad spectrum, puberty to retirement. So, and, you know, as I said, Pitta governs transformation. So, you know, that's really the time of life in your life, you're creating and all of that. Okay, so what does a Pitta person tend to look like? Physically, Pitta people, they have a medium frame. They gain and lose weight easily. These are people that have a very strong appetite, strong digestion. They have oily, reddish skin, warmer body temperature, so those people that are warm to the touch. And they tend to have bald or graying hair, which a lot of time is a result of, their body temperature can be so high, Ayurveda, believes, burning off their hair. Mentally, Pitta people, these Pittas are leaders. They're very organized. They're courageous. They're inspiring, competitive, goal-oriented, but really fun to be around, sociable, and good senses of humor. But again, when a Pitta goes out of balance, all of these good qualities can go to the extreme. So their, oily and reddish skin can get acne, rashes, and skin inflammation. Their digestion can get very sharp and get heartburn, indigestion, and nausea, in addition to diarrhea. And then mentally, that competitive leadership nature can take a negative turn and be overly competitive, critical, judgmental, angry, frustrated, and impatient. And the last dosha, but certainly not least, is the dosha of Vata. And I saved Vata for last because Vata is actually the dosha that's most relevant to the two topics that you were all the most interested in, which is staying healthy during this coming season in addition to travel. So you've already walked through the season, so you're probably aware that, there's only 2 seasons left, and Vata actually is the dosha of fall and winter. In addition, it has qualities that tie to travel as well. So I just want to take a step back before I go into it so now that we're going into fall and winter, this is the time, where we all need to look at managing our Vata a bit. So when I go through the qualities and the balance and imbalance, maybe you're starting to see some of these things happen already, or maybe it's something that you see, often every year. And the thing about Vata in general, whether it be seasonal or not, is it does tend to be the most common imbalance that most of us do have, just because of the way we tend to live our lives. So the elements of Vata.
We have a question on the screen from Allison. She asked, can you see again the significance of the time of day? What does that mean exactly?
Sure, of course. So the significance of the time of day is similar to the significance of the season and the time of life. So during those times of day is when you may see that dosha rise or have a tendency to get aggravated in your body. So you just have to be aware of it. So I think Pitta is probably the best example of that. So the Pitta time of day is 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. So during one of Ayurveda's philosophies is that you should have your biggest meal in the middle of the day. So your Pitta is your digestive dosha, right? So the idea is that you should really eat, lunch when your digestive fire is the strongest, say between 12 and 2, and that's how the Pitta time of day can help support you with that. And then the same would be between the 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. window. The liver is actually a Pitta organ, and the liver at 10 p.m. starts detoxifying you from your day. So the idea is that you should, if you go to sleep at that time, you need to be resting for that to happen, so it can help you do that work. So that's a good example of using the doshic clock to help manage your day and be in balance with them. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Okay, so any other questions before I go more knee-deep into Vata?
Yes,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
yes, we did. Jen can talk.
Oh, real quick, I was just curious about how the clock, how the clock applies to places where the climate's different or there's not as much sun. This is developed in India.
Yeah.
And is it the same in other parts of the world?
You know what, that's a great question, and, we do have to keep all of this in mind, to your point, that this was developed in India, right? So it's not everything is going to be one for one. There are, people ask me a lot about certain foods and, like avocados. Obviously, the ancient texts of India don't refer to them because, they weren't there. So it's more about applying it from the principle than, the specifics. But yes, again, these are all generalities and you have to, find it based on the reality of your situation. And same with the seasons, right? I mean, seasons are different in different places as well. Anything else? All right, so on to Vata. So Vata, oh, sorry, did someone have something? Happy to answer.
No, I think we're good.
We're good.
Okay, so Vata. Okay, so the elements of Vata, as I said, are ether and air. Ether being the element of space and air being the element of movement. So as such, one of the qualities of Vata is that it's mobile. And this is important as this makes Vata the only dosha that moves. And I said earlier that most of us have a Vata imbalance at some point. Again, sweeping generalization. But the reason for that is because Vata is mobile. So, and a lot of us are leading very hectic, busy lives, and then our Vata starts moving, and it just moves other stuff around in our body and can very easily get out of balance. And that's also what leads to your Vata getting out of balance when you travel, which is what I'm going to touch on in a little bit. Vata is also cold, it's dry, light, rough, subtle, clear, and hard. And I know for me here, I don't know, I mean, we're talking about the weather a little bit. It's not, it's not dry out, at least here in New York City today. It's raining, but, it's very windy outside, it's cold, there's lightness, so you can kind of see some of these qualities in the day here in the Northeast. What Vata governs is it governs movement, communication, the nervous system, and its central location is the colon. As I said, we're entering Vata season now, which is the fall and winter. The time of day, 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., and the time of life is what Ayurveda refers to as wisdom years, which is about 50 plus, about post-menopause for women, give or take. So what does Vata look like in balance? So physically, Vata people have a light, thin frame. They're those types, it's very easy for them to lose weight, but hard for them to gain weight. They have cold hands and feet, dry skin, and small, fine features. Mentally, Vata people are very creative, innovative, enthusiastic, sociable, talks and walks fast. So I was talking about the mobility. Vata people are the people that are flailing their arms and getting all excited about ideas and getting people all excited about them too. Out of balance, however, Vatas can be emaciated, have dry, cracked skin, gas, bloating, constipation, and then mentally, Vata attributes are very fearful, anxious, nervous, ungrounded, scattered thinking, and insomnia. Actually, having trouble sleeping is a sign of a Vata imbalance. Okay, so now I wanted to go into a bit more detail on Vata as the Vata season upon us, and just give some general tips for how to keep your Vata in balance this upcoming Vata season. So we spent a lot of time going over the qualities, and the real core notion of Ayurveda is this notion of like increases like and opposites balance. Again, this is all seemingly complex stuff that boils down to very simple rules. So we went through all the qualities of Vata, the coldness, the lightness, the mobility, the dryness, So in order to keep your Vata in balance during Vata season, you need to balance those qualities with the opposite of them. So as you look at what then you should be eating in Vata season, what you really need to do is avoid dry raw food and eat more warm cooked food. And, you know, what do we mean by dry raw food? So, you know, many of us have been taught to love our salads. I know me in particular, you know, I love a salad. Juicing is a big thing in a lot of places, but these foods in Vata season can be very Vata aggravating and not be good for your digestion and can help get your Vata out of balance in, you know, in a physical or mental way. I will say from personal experience, I did follow the, you know, I read the Ayurvedic principles last fall and winter, and I'm a massive salad person, and I really did stay away from the raw food. And I do typically get, you know, get the seasonal blues, if you will, as I'm sure many of us do. And I have to say, I mean, look, you never know what exactly it's from, but, you know, it didn't happen last winter. So I'm convinced it's because I didn't eat salad. So I'll miss them. I'm already mourning them as the season starts, but I do think it works. And then eating more warm cooked food. That's in season, right? So the idea also is that, you know, just because you move away from salads doesn't mean you don't eat your veggies. It just means you steam them or saute them, you know, with an oil, right? Because Vata is also dry. So the oil is very important, particularly in Vata season. And, you know, any kind of high quality oil would do. And then, you know, grains, meat is actually, if you are a meat eater, again, very good in Vata season, because you need that stronger, more, you know, substantial food to balance out the lightness. And then as far as eating in season, Ayurveda goes back to this concept of being connected in nature, and the idea is that what the season is providing for you is really what your body needs to stay in balance. And again, all of this varies on, you know, the geographies of where you're living, but if you're not as in tune to what may be in season or not, some good ways just to easily cheat and find out is if you go to the supermarket, whatever produce is on sale tends to be what's in season because they tend to have more of it. And if you do have farmers markets and are interested in it, obviously everything there is in season. But if you think about foods that are in season, again, at least here in the Northeast, for the fall and winter, they're food, you know, fruits, apples, pears, figs, bananas, you know, these more denser fruits than the watery and light cantaloupes and berries of summer. And then vegetable-wise, it's winter squash, root vegetables, hardy greens. So you'll see that what's in season does qualities that will balance the qualities of Vata. So those are some eating tips you can take on to stay healthier and manage your Vata this coming fall and winter. And then from a lifestyle perspective, the focus needs to really be on managing that mobility and getting more stillness in your life to counteract that mobile Vata. So a key one is establishing a routine. Now, we all have our routines and we all have stuff we have to do every day. And Ayurveda believes very strongly in having a set routine that you do every morning when you wake up and every night before you go to bed to give your body that consistency with every day. So, you know, maybe think of some small things you can do this season. Maybe try getting a set time to wake up. Going back to the time of clock, Ayurveda recommends, I already told you about the bedtime around 10, 11 during the Pitta window, and Ayurveda recommends waking up during the Kapha time, which is, don't worry, not 2 a.m. So it ends at 6 a.m., so about 6 a.m.-ish with the sun, give or take. And again, if you think about the opposites balancing, Kapha is more of a still time. So the idea is to wake up then to counteract that. So things like that, looking at where you can get more consistency, maybe when you wake up in the morning and down at night to ease in and out of your day. And then the second one, lifestyle-wise, which is personally one of my favorites, is this concept of daily oil massage. Now, Ayurveda believes that everything, your skin being our largest organ, right? So everything you put on your skin should be something also you would be willing to, ingest in your mouth as food. And daily oil massage, or the Sanskrit word for that being abhyanga, is a very popular treatment in Ayurveda. The oil on the skin is really very helpful in calming the nervous system, in grounding you, and providing all of those still activities that are really helpful for managing Vata. Now, I've learned that a lot of people get very scared by this and overwhelmed by it, and everyone's worried they're going to break out or something. I will assure you you won't, but I understand if people aren't ready to jump in a vat of oil just because I said so. So a good tip to start is start with oiling your feet before you go to bed, especially if you tend to have trouble sleeping or falling asleep. It's a really nice ritual to get into, to clean your feet, oil them, and it really does help ground you for a good night's rest. Do put socks on, because I have ruined a lot of sheets, but that's something you could experiment with and see how you feel. And then you could keep moving on up. And then another one is more gentle exercise. So again, obviously we all want to be active, and exercise is important, but during a Vata season, more rigorous, jerky movements and, things like running and, more intense cardio may not be as good for you during this season, depending on where you're at. So, more gentle exercises like a gentle yoga, Pilates, even walking might be more suited for this season. So those are just some tips, again, all very, very general. And now if you look at how to balance your Vata, Did I have a question? Yeah.
What kind of oil do you use for the oil massage?
You can really use any oil. So it really depends on your dosha, to be specific. A good neutral oil that's tridoshic is almond oil. That's one. If for whatever reason if you really resonated with pitta during this, coconut oil is very good. But if you feel like you're more of a Kapha or a Vata, coconut oil may not be as good because it's very cooling. But I think almond oil is probably a good general one that would suit anybody. Yeah, just good. I mean, you can literally. I'm talking like I go to Whole Foods and I buy organic fresh oil, and that's what I use.
So plant oils like lavender, which I hear is really good if you're sleepy, if you need more sleep, that would not.
Yeah, so that's an essential oil. So you need to add that to a base oil. So what you would do, and that's a whole nother topic I could spend days on. So what you would do is you would get a base oil, such as almond oil, say, and then lavender actually is very good for Vata. So if you bought some almond oil, say, and then some lavender essential oil, and you put a few drops in there, you can certainly do that to add that aromatherapy aspect as well. You have to be careful with essential oils. They're not meant to go on your skin directly, so you need a base oil to help it permeate.
Thank you. That's interesting. Neat. Oh.
Anything else? Okay, great. I just wanted to touch on a few more travel tips, and then happy to open up to any more questions. So, as I said, staying healthy while traveling from an Ayurvedic perspective also comes down to the notion of managing your Vata because of this mobility. So a lot of the same tips for staying healthy during fall and winter will also pertain to travel, but I wanted to just point out some specific things I tend to do when I travel. So the first one, I told you, I talk about oil a lot, so is to oil your food and your body. And the funny thing, one of my teachers once made this comment that the airport, he calls the airport the Vata port, because if you think about the food that's available at airports, right? It's like everything is chips, right? It's nuts, it's cold beverages. There's nothing in there. It's very un-Ayurvedic. There's really nothing in there to help support your Vata. It's all there to aggravate it. So look, we all know how hard it is to find healthy food while traveling. So we can't be perfect, but just keep that in mind. Even just don't drink cold water. Try to drink warm water on planes. They always have it. And just always keep that in mind about what, if you can make a choice that might be more supportive. And then back to the oil, I will say, and again, it might take you all some time to to be on board with this, but I actually now do pack in my 3-ounce bottle a small thing of oil, and I put it on my feet when I get on a plane. And I happen to be a very good flyer. I don't get nervous when I fly or anything like that. I'm very fortunate. But I have found that when I fly, you get very dried out, right? You get dehydrated, and I get headaches. And I have to say that when I started doing this, I don't have that sort of hangover effect from flying. So, and people really don't even look at you. I swear, you can do it. Or if they are, so I do recommend that. And the temples of your temples as well is also really helpful. So again, just keeping in mind, really trying to, again, go back to that warmth, the oils for the grounding, and the stillness when you're moving around so much. And then the last one I put, which is really an important concept all around, but I thought it would be something good to throw in about travel specifically, is, to try and rest, right? Because when we travel, we're all just trying to fill every minute. And this notion of eating mindful meals. And again, this is something that I think we could all try to get better at throughout our lives, but I think probably particularly when you travel, you just, grab something on your way to a meeting or whatnot. And, if you really try to, take 10 minutes out of your day to have your meal or your snack alone and, enjoy it, that will, again, help bring the stillness, calm the vata, and will also help you digest the food better. Ayurveda feels very strongly that it's not just what you eat, but how you eat it that will keep you healthy. So that is the end of my presentation. I don't know, does anyone have any other questions or comments or anything? I'll put my little thing back up if I can figure it out.
Jeanette, are you going to hear me Ashley while talking?
I can. Hi, Ashley.
Hi. I really appreciate the presentation, and I wanted to know, as a principal, can I go home with your presentation?
Yeah, can you send us
Sorry,
the
what was
slides?
that, Ashley? You fell off at the end.
Can you help me?
Oh, yeah, she was asking if you could send the slides for the presentation, right?
Yeah.
Of course,
so we can all have them.
happy to.
Yeah, if you send those to me, Jeanette, I'll send them around to the people who are here, or to anybody who wants them.
Yeah.
No, definitely. Happy to share.
Thank you. Thanks.
Is that an email?
It was great. Thank you. It was very
I have a
interesting.
question. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi.
Is it the same tips for travel in different seasons? Are you still protecting your vata?
Again, these are all very sweeping generalizations, but for the most part, yes. Just because travel tends to be vata aggravating activity because of all the movement. So just getting in a plane will most likely aggravate your vata. So yes.
So we should always travel with our 3-ounce bottle of oil.
I think so, but they'll get back to me. Let me know.
That's great. So Jeanette, this is Anya. So do you want to talk a little bit about your consulting business? Do you consult on Ayurveda?
I do, yes. Thanks, Anya. So as I mentioned earlier, I graduated from Kripalu, and I've started to see clients one-on-one. So everything I presented to you today is, very basic general information, but Ayurveda really is so individualized. Just each of us have our own unique doshic makeup, and we have, what's our true doshic makeup, which is who we are at our core, and then we have the state of what is our imbalance right now and what do we need to address. So what I do in one-on-one consultations is I'll work with you, you get a dosha quiz, you fill out a health questionnaire, and really learn more about what you're eating every day, how you're feeling, what your lifestyle is. There's a pulse reading component because the pulse is very important to Ayurveda as it is in acupuncture, as some of you may know. And then from there, we'll come up with some diet and lifestyle tips to help bring your doshas back to balance and, you know, and then work together on you and your unique constitution. So if any of you are interested in learning more about, you know, what your Ayurvedic makeup is and, you know, how you can get healthier using this science, I'd love to hear from you. My email is jvolpi@yahoo.com, and Anya has it as well. Anya, you can just send it when you send around the presentation.
Okay, great.
Do we have time for another question?
Yes.
Yeah. So this, I understand that it's very individual and it's complicated. So I'm not sure how well you could answer this question. But if you identify more strongly with one of the three doshas, does that generally mean that the kinds of foods that are associated with that dosha are the kinds of foods that you should be eating, or is it much more? It's probably much more complicated than that, but.
No, I understand what you're asking. And so to quote, to use my favorite Ayurvedic quote, the answer is it depends. But because it does. But in general, you will find that if you identify with a specific dosha, you probably really like the foods associated with that dosha. And then it just depends on if your dosha is out of balance or not. Like you can be a pitta at heart, but your pitta can be imbalanced. Your pitta can be imbalanced. So that means, sure, you can eat spicy foods, but you just have to be aware that if you eat too much, your pitta is probably going to get out of balance. So it really just depends on if you're feeling the more unbalanced effects of your dosha as opposed to the imbalanced effects. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so if you're...
Or did I confuse you more?
if you're feeling the more unbalanced, not balanced aspects of that dosha, then you
so you should stay away from the foods that are pertain to it. But if you're feeling the balanced attributes, you can have them.
Okay, thank you.
It's that notion of like increases like an opposites balance, so just try to keep that in mind.
Any other questions for Jeanette before we wrap up? Okay, well, if you think of any questions later, you all have Jeanette's email, and I will send around her slides after she sends them to me. And Jeanette, we want to thank you so much for this presentation today.
No, thank all of you. It was a real pleasure, and I appreciate you turning out and listening. I hope you enjoyed it.